Donald Trump is expected to pick Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to be the Secretary of Health and Human Services. Trump had previously promised RFK a, quote, big role after RFK abandoned his independent bid for president and endorsed Donald Trump. The New York Times describes him like this, as a, quote, environmental lawyer who has no medical or public health degrees and has promoted anti-vaccine conspiracies for years, end quote.
I'm going to let him go wild on health. I'm going to let him go wild on the food. I'm going to let him go wild on medicines.
What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Mika, and we're back for another Red Cup Talks, because you know once we got the Red Cup, we're about to spill some truth. And today I wanted to come on really quick and talk about Trump's new appointee. Trump just put in his cabinet Secretary of Health and Human Services, RFK. Okay, that is major. And the reason why it is major, because RFK has been on the swamp's neck. Okay, he has always stood for better vaccines. He has always stood for better foods and just better health overall and the environment. So this is a big deal. Okay, I want you to see what the media is saying about it, because they're going wild. Here we go.
I have to turn to some breaking news, though. Sources tell NBC News that the president-elect, Donald Trump, is expected to pick Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to be the Secretary of Health and Human Services. Trump had previously promised RFK a, quote, big role after RFK abandoned his independent bid for president and endorsed Donald Trump. The New York Times describes him like this, as a, quote, environmental lawyer who has no medical or public health degrees and has promoted anti-vaccine conspiracies for years, end quote. Regarding the Food and Drug Administration, the agency that is responsible for the safety of our prescriptions, vaccines, cosmetics, our food, even veterinary medicine, an agency that would be under his purview, RFK has said that, quote, entire departments have to go.
Okay, so you guys just saw that. He's going to be in charge and overseeing everything as far as the FDA and all of these pharmaceutical companies and what they're putting in our foods. Like, we have so many ingredients. We have so many things that should not be in our foods. Other countries have minimized the number of vaccines they give children. And so I want you to hear RFK speaking on some of these things as far as vaccines and foods. Here you go.
One of the obstacles also that's keeping you essentially from that base of the Democratic Party is your history of anti-vaccine activism. Medical community, the medical establishment considers you a dangerous purveyor of vaccine misinformation and a threat to public health, is saying. The Los Angeles Times has that as a headline. How does vaccine policy change? And we know this is more of a state-by-state issue, but how at the federal level will you bring your views to bear at the federal government?
Well, it is a federal issue because the federal government recommends and approves new vaccines. And my only argument, I've never been anti-vaccine. I'm called anti-vaccine because that's a way of kind of marginalizing and discrediting me in the view of the public. But I had all my children vaccinated. I was fully vaccinated. And I've never been anti-vaccine. But what I've said is I'm pro-science and pro-safety, and we ought to subject vaccines, which are mandated for healthy children, not for sick people. We ought to subject them to at least the kind of rigorous placebo-controlled trials that are mandated for every other medicine.
All right, so you just heard that. So RFK has to fight off the fact that since he is not for pharmaceutical companies just giving us vaccines that haven't been through clinical trials, they just give them to us, right? The FDA approves them, just like COVID. Okay. So the COVID vaccine happened the same way. We used to, as children, get 3 shots, and now the children are getting 72. That's crazy. All right. There's no like justification. And if there is, then put it through a clinical trial so you know the risk. That is what RFK is talking about. But I want you to hear especially what they were upset about with COVID. Okay, because RFK was very much against just giving people the COVID vaccine without any trials. Here we go.
So they have been reducing the standards to make it so that they can pass a vaccine no matter what.
And what they think it's going to do is make it so that they don't have to worry about COVID at all.
Right.
Is that what they're...
If you get a shot, you're protected.
You're good.
And that you're not going to transmit it.
Okay.
Here's the problem. The way they measure whether you have COVID is that you have one positive PCR test. You have one positive PCR test and you have one symptom. So that could be a cough, it could be a fever, it could be a chill, it could be a headache. And you have COVID. So what they're testing the vaccine for is not what we want to know. Does it prevent you from dying?
Right.
Does it prevent you from being hospitalized?
Understood.
All right, so you guys just heard RFK talk about the vaccine, the COVID vaccine, and how it's still spreaded amongst the people, even though people had the shot, how people still got COVID, even though they had the shot, right? So it wasn't effective, and they didn't even test it long enough for you to have, actual facts and findings for it to be safe, one, and for it to see if it actually worked, two, and then three, to see if you died or not. Okay. So when they talk about RFK, he's definitely a disruptor to the establishment because these are big pharmaceutical companies, and pharmaceutical companies do not like when you mess with their money. So with that being said, I want to get into the mainstream media and what they're all saying right now, all the pundits and all their opinions, because they know if this gets in, because they know if this guy gets in, he's definitely draining the swamp, and it's not going to be pretty. Here we go.
Yesterday, Matt Gaetz, today, RFK Jr. What is the mindset here? Is it, I can do whatever I want, or is he trying to dare Republican senators to go against him in some ways?
I mean, I think the answer is yes. It's all of the above. Right? So if you look at it, it's not really surprising. That doesn't mean it's not controversial, and it doesn't mean that it's easily going to get through the Senate, but it's not totally surprising.
So, I mean, I could certainly understand why President-elect Trump thinks he has a mandate. I can certainly understand why he thinks, look, I'm here to get rid of inflation. Right. I'm here to impose tariffs. I promise that. I'm here to secure the border. I'm here to do things about crime, et cetera, all the list of things. I don't think that part of the mandate, and this is just my interpretation, but in terms of the people, not his base, but the people who voted for him, who swung the election his way, I don't think they're there to get rid of childhood vaccines.
I don't think that the vast majority of Republicans who helped vote for him are there to get rid of childhood vaccines, and I think we're going to see what ends up happening with that and where it actually goes. But you are correct that not every single thing that is part of this coalition is something that everyone voted for. Are there aspects of what RFK talks about that actually are fairly popular with a segment of the electorate? I'm not talking about the vaccines, although Trump, just remember,
he's also a vaccine denier.
Yeah. Correct. But except on everything except for the COVID vaccine, which he's very proud of. People are very good at rationalizing whatever they want to about why they vote. And so do I think that most people either believed that they will really go ahead with trying to crack down on vaccines for children? Probably not.
Okay, so you guys just saw that. So RFK is the pick, and they just want to keep harping on the fact that he does not like all of these children vaccines. So they keep calling him a vaccine denier, anti-vaxxer, all of this stuff. RFK, to me, I think is going to have a hard time getting in because of that, right? He poses a threat to the swamp because a lot of them are bought off by lobbyists from pharmaceutical companies. So I am interested in seeing where this goes, but I just wanted to come on and bring you that because that's going to be really big. All right. You guys get down in the comments and let me know. I think I'm going to do a whole live stream on RFK and all of this. And I might invite one of my homegirls, a really good conservative girl. So you guys stay tuned for that. So you guys get down in the comments and let me know, hey, do you think CNN and all the mainstream media has a point about RFK, or do you think they're just making too much of it and they should let him really clean up the swamp as far as it comes to nutrition and vaccines and different things in that area of health? Let me know, guys. Like, comment, and subscribe. It's your girl, Mika, and I'm out. Peace.